Peace and greetings. My name is Nazari. I'm with the Disciples of Truth. And today's lesson I'm going to be breaking down is the Passover. I'm going to be exposing a lot of the lies that are associated with the Passover. Such things such as like keeping it wherever you want, the consumption of animals. I'm going to show you that based on the King James Version of the Bible, and also another book that I follow, which is the Gospel of Peace. I'll get into that at the end of the lesson for people who are not familiar with that book. But it basically coincides with the scriptures. But, you know, as we go through the scriptures, because we could prove this just from the King James Version of the Bible that a lot of people are familiar with, right? And you have a lot of these individuals, whatever groups they may be, and organizations, whatever they call themselves, who they love to talk against other religions and say, well, these people throwing away the Bible, they only want to follow some of it, they don't want to follow all of it, etc. And I'm going to be exposing that these individuals, camps, groups, whatever you want to call them, are actually doing the exact same thing. So without any further ado, let's get into the scriptures on the Passover. So we have here in Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 5 to 6, it says, "Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee. But at the place which the Lord shall choose to place his name, in there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou comest forth out of Egypt." So the very first line in this, "Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates." Okay? So you can't just keep the Passover wherever you want. Furthermore, it's talking about sacrifices. And people would tell you that the sacrifices are done away with. We don't have to keep sacrifices, but they keep in the Passover, you know, which goes hand in hand. Then it says here, "Which the Lord thy God hath given thee, but at the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place his name." He says, the place where I choose to place my name, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at even. Okay, so you have to find out where is the place that the Lord had chose to put his name. It says here, 2 Kings 23, verse 23. "But in the 18th year of King Hosea, wherein this Passover was holden to the Lord in Jerusalem." So as we go through the scriptures, we're going to continue to see that the Passover has to be kept in Jerusalem. So these are the laws, and it's similar to the things that they talk about when people try to have the "can we eat animals" debate, right? Because there's a certain way that you're supposed to deal with this animal. You have to let the blood drain out. You have to take it before the priest, right? It has to be an atonement. You can't just go eating animals all willy-nilly just because you feel like, or you're saying that it's unclean, right? Or you're saying that it's clean, rather. Okay, so, you know, they're synonymous with each other because there's actually a procedure. And I'm going to go into how this procedure was actually inserted into the teachings by way of Moses. We're going to prove that, okay? So the next verse we're going to read is 2 Chronicles chapter 30, verse 1. It says, "And Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Judah, and wrote letters also to Ephraim and Manasseh, that they should come to the house of the Lord at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto the Lord God of Israel." Again, line upon line, it's telling you the Passover has to be kept in Jerusalem. Okay? So that's the first order. That's the first law of the Passover. 2 Chronicles 35 and 1, this is just confirmation. "Moreover, Hosea kept the Passover unto the Lord in Jerusalem." 2 Chronicles 30, verse 2, "For the king had taken counsel, and his princes, and all the congregation in Jerusalem, to keep the Passover in the second month." 2 Chronicles 30, verse 3, it says, "For they could not keep it at that time, because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently, neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem." So we see two things here. Again, we're dealing with the Passover. The priest has to be involved. It says that these priests did not sanctify themselves. So this is one reason why they could not keep it. And the people were not gathered to Jerusalem. So how dare you go about and say that you having a Passover feast? How dare you call it that? A lot of times they try to justify it and say, well, okay, we just rehearsing the righteous acts. No, you're not, because you're calling it the Passover. And you're putting pressure on people, telling them, oh, you go miss the Passover. You can't miss it, brother, sister, etc., etc. Okay? But we're finding out the laws of the Passover. It says the priest had to get it active. The priest had to be involved in this Passover. I'll read it again. 2 Chronicles 30 verse 3. For they could not keep it at that time. So why could they not keep the Passover? Because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently. So you could say, well, oh, my priest is sanctified or what have you. Is your priest, this person that you're referring to as a priest, are they from the tribe of Levi? Moreover, are they from the Levitical tribe? Are they from Aaron's lineage? You have to be able to prove that, to say that, oh, well, our priest is present, okay? It says you have to be from Aaron's seed to be considered a priest, okay? Now, as we go there, it said, neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem. So they were not in Jerusalem, so they could not keep the Passover. There is no mystery here. There is no trickery here. The scriptures say what it says. This is not interpretation. This is not vain understanding or any of that, okay? Let's get back to the priest. Exodus 28 and 1, and it says, and take thou unto thee Aaron thy brother and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office, even Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Thamar, Aaron's sons. So the priesthood came down through Aaron and his sons. So you can't tell me, you can't identify one person who say they're a priest. They talk, oh, I'm from the tribe of Levi, so I'm a priest. No, you got to be from Aaron's lineage, okay, specifically. Now let's get a second witness on that topic. It says Exodus 29 and 9, and thou shalt girdle them with girdles, Aaron and his sons, and put the bonnets on them. And the priest's office shall be theirs for a perpetual stature. Perpetual, it is continuing, right? And thou shalt consecrate Aaron and his sons. It doesn't say anything about consecrating your head bishop or your pastor or whatever the case might be. Aaron and his sons, these were the priests. So how dare you blaspheme or go against what the scripture is saying and call yourself a priest, call another man a priest? I mean, just off of these scriptures, okay? But let's continue. So let's see if the Messiah and his family had this understanding that they were actually supposed to go to Jerusalem. Let's see if they practiced that. Luke chapter 2, verse 41, it says, now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. This is the Messiah's parents. It said they went to Jerusalem every single year. Okay, because there is where it was commanded for it and instructed for it to be kept. Not in America, not in the Caribbean, not in Africa, in some random place. It says in Jerusalem. Okay, now let's see about the Messiah. John 11 and 51, it says, and the Jews' Passover was nigh at hand, and many went out of the country up to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. Again, they went to Jerusalem. And John 2 verse 23, it says, now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover in the feast day, many believed in his name when they saw the miracles which he did. Again, now this is talking about the Messiah. He also went to Jerusalem to keep the Passover. I can't emphasize enough. I mean, at this point, if you still striving against it, you obviously don't, it's not for you. You don't want to receive it, because the scriptures are very plain. Now it says, I'm going to go into the fact that they never ate animals at the Passover originally. Okay. And also the Messiah at that Passover did not eat any animals at all. We're going to go from according to what the scriptures say. So let's go into the book of Joshua, chapter 1, 1 to 3. It says, Now, after the death of Moses, actually, hold on, no, that's not where I'm going just yet. One moment. Yeah, let's go to Joshua 5, 10 to 12. It says, and the children of Israel encamped in Gilgad, and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at even in the plains of Jericho. And they did eat the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover, unleavened cakes and parched corn in the selfsame day. And the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the old corn of the land. Neither had the children of Israel manna any more, but they did eat of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year. So again, this is when they went into the promised land. And we go further up is what I was about to read. Joshua 1 verse 1 to 3, it says, now after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spake unto Joshua the son of Nun, Moses, ministering, saying, Moses my servant is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I do give them, even to the children of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, as I said unto Moses. So the kingdom, the keys to the kingdom was passed on to Joshua when Moses passed. Okay? So now when they finally make it into the promised land, this is the first Passover that we're talking about. So in order to get into the promised land, they had to eat manna. They could not consume any type of animals. I'll read that verse again, Joshua 10. It says, Joshua 5 verse 10, and the children of Israel encamped in Gilgad, and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at even in the plains of Jericho. And they did eat the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover, unleavened cakes and parched corn in the selfsame day. And the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the old corn of the land. Neither had the children of Israel manna any more, but they did eat of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year. There is no mention of any animals, eating any animal in haste and all this extra stuff, which was added by Moses and then the scribes and the Pharisees. And we're going to prove it based off of the text. Okay? Now let's go to Matthew chapter 26, verse 17 and 20. Right? It says, now the first day of the feast of unleavened cakes, the disciples came to him, saying unto him, where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover? So we are talking now about the Messiah himself. Okay, let's see what he had for the Passover. I mean, everybody knows the depictions. We see the art, we see the paintings, we know what he ate. But let's go into it and just get it again from the scriptures in case we forgot. It says, now when the even was come, he sat down with the 12. And as they did eat, he said, verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. Verse 26. And as they were eating, the Messiah took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. There's no mention of any lamb being slain or any of that type of stuff. Okay? Matthew chapter 26. I'll read it one more time. Says, now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to him, saying unto him, where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover? Now when the even was come, he sat down with the 12, and as they did eat, he said, verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. And as they were eating, the Messiah took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. So now let's go back a little bit into the traditions of men. Now, as we just read, there's no mention of any lamb, any goat, all that extra stuff that people are trying to say that we were supposed to be doing. I'm going to show you how that got added based on the text. Okay, Deuteronomy 32 verse 48 to 52. And I'm also going to show again that people are not even following it anyway, right? You can't just do it however you feel like you want to do it. Either you're going to do it from the book or you're going to leave it alone. You can't make excuses. Deuteronomy 32 verse 48. And the Lord spake unto Moses that selfsame day, saying, get thee up into the mountain Abarim, unto Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, that is over against Jericho. And behold, the land of Canaan, which I gave unto the children of Israel for a possession, and die in the mount whither thou goest up, and be gathered unto thy people, as Aaron thy brother died in Mount Hor, and was gathered unto his people. Okay, so he's talking about Moses not getting into the promised land. Okay, then it says, why did Moses get into the promised land? It says here, verse 51, because ye trespassed against me among the children of Israel at the waters of Meribah in the wilderness of Zin, because ye sanctified me not in the midst of the children of Israel. Yet thou shalt see the land before thee, but thou shalt not go thither unto the land which I give the children of Israel. So this is the man who is so highly revered throughout these different doctrines. We're talking about Moses. Now the scriptures say that Moses did not sanctify the Most High in the presence of the people. Remember, throughout how he transgressed, you might not see it as a transgression, but imagine this. If the Most High give you something, written, a book, a tablet, places it in your care, and you smash it out of anger, how disrespectful is that? How disrespectful is that? And these are the things where it says that Moses, you did not sanctify me. I'm going to read it again so you don't say it's coming from me. Okay? Deuteronomy 32 verse 48. And the Lord spoke unto Moses that selfsame day, saying, Get thee up into the mountain Abarim, unto Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, that is over against Jericho. And behold, the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel for a possession, and die in the mount whither thou goest up, and be gathered unto thy people, as Aaron thy brother died in the Mount Hor, and was gathered up to his people, because ye trespassed. So he sinned against me among the children of Israel at the waters of Meribah, in the wilderness of Zin, because ye sanctified me not in the midst of the children of Israel. Yet thou shalt see the land before thee, but thou shalt not go thither unto the land which I gave the children of Israel. So Moses got to see the promised land, but he couldn't get in. It wasn't upright. This is what the scripture is saying. And I know people love to praise and worship Moses, but this is what the Most High don't care. He said, look over there. You see that land? Yeah, you're going to see it, but you're going to die here. You're not playing with people. You think it's a game. Nobody is safe. All right. Now we're going to look at Numbers 20, verse 12 to 13. And the Lord spoke unto Moses and Aaron, because ye believe me not to sanctify me. This is just a precept, right? To sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Israel. Therefore ye shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them. This is the water of Meribah, because the children of Israel strove with the Lord, and he was sanctified in them. So the Most High was with them, and they still strove against him. Okay. So what I'm getting at, right? What we go into is the point where Moses basically added to the text. You might say, oh, how dare you say that, etc., etc. The Most High gave us 10 commandments. How you end up with hundreds? What happened? What happened in between then? So Moses, it says Moses was like, he was tenderhearted, right? Because he was soft. And when the people would come to Moses and say, oh, Moses, okay, I don't even have to go into all that. Here's what I'll say. When the Messiah came on the scene, he said, Moses, out of the hardness of your heart, suffered you to put away your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. So this is not a law. Putting away your wife is not a law from the Creator. It's a law from Moses. Plain and simple. So if we can prove and identify that this particular law was added, then I have to say, well, what else did Moses put in there? That's it. It's a simple question. Because we've already proven, just based off of that one text, we've shown that, yeah, he did do some extra stuff. This was the issue. Moses didn't want the people to die, and he's like, okay, so how about maybe we could probably, let's just, all these excuses. All these excuses. We're going to continue to get into that, right? Ezekiel 45, verse 21 to 25. It says, in the first month, in the 14th day of the month, ye shall have the Passover, a feast of 7 days. Unleavened bread shall be eaten, and upon that day shall the prince prepare for himself and for all the people of the land a bullock for a sin offering. We didn't see any of this in Joshua. Okay, how does this come in now in Ezekiel, right? It says a bullock for a sin offering to the Lord, 7 bullocks and 7 rams without blemish daily, the 7 days, and a kid of the goats daily for a sin offering. And ye shall prepare a meat offering of an ephah for a bullock, and an ephah for a ram, and a hin of oil for an ephah. In the 7th month, in the 15th day of the month, shall he do the like in the feast of the 7 days, according to the sin offering, according to the burnt offering, and according to the meat offering, and according to the oil. Do you do this? The people who are saying that they keeping the Passover, do you do this? All of this is in the text. So why are you extrapolating certain things when it's convenient to you? I'm telling you straight up, this was added by man. When I say man, I mean Moses. I mean the other people who were around him, who were scribes and Pharisees, just adding stuff to these doctrines. None of you do this. So how can you say that you're keeping the Passover? And you don't do it because you're not supposed to be doing it. I'll read it again. Ezekiel 45, verse 21. In the first month, in the 14th day of the month, ye shall have the Passover, a feast of 7 days. Unleavened bread shall be eaten. And upon the day shall the prince prepare for himself and for all the people of the land a bullock for a sin offering. And 7 days of the feast he shall prepare a burnt offering to the Lord. 7 bullocks and 7 rams without blemish, daily the 7 days. And a kid of the goats daily for a sin offering. And he shall prepare a meat offering of an ephah for a bullock, and an ephah for a ram, and a hin of oil for an ephah. In the 7th month, in the 15th day of the month, shall he do the like in the feast of the 7 days, according to the sin offering, according to the burnt offering, according to the meat offering, and according to the oil. This is a whole bunch of extra stuff that nobody does, but they saying they keeping a Passover, eating animals. Okay, let's go to Isaiah chapter 1, verse 10 to 13. Hear the word of the Lord, ye rulers of Sodom. Give ear unto the law of our God, ye people of Gomorrah. To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me? Says the Lord, I am full of burnt offerings of rams and of the fat of fed beasts, and I delight not in the blood of bullocks or of lambs or of goats. It says he has no delight in that thing that the people are doing. When ye come appear before me, who had required this at your hand to thread my courts? So he's saying, who told you to do this? Who had required this at your hand, at my courts? Who told you to do this? So if the Creator is asking you, who told you to do this, right? Or the Lord is asking you, who told you to do this? Then we know it did not come from the Lord. It's that simple. I'm going to read it again for those who might be missing it. It says, but I'll continue. I'll finish. Verse 13, it says, bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination unto me. The new moons and Sabbaths, the calling of assemblies, I cannot away with. It is iniquity, even the solemn meetings. Okay? I'm going to read it again. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 10 to 13. Hear the word of the Lord, ye rulers of Sodom. Give ear unto the law of your God, ye people of Gomorrah. To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me, saith the Lord? Says, what's the purpose of all this bloodshed? I am full of burnt offerings of rams, and the fat of fed beasts, and I delight not in the blood of the bullocks, or of lambs, or of the goats. When ye come to appear before me, who had required this at your hand, to thread my courts? Bring no more vain oblation. Incense is an abomination unto me. So who had required this? Moses. Moses gave you all this extra stuff to do. Okay, so now that we have a better understanding based on the scriptures, what took place with Moses, how commandments or instructions were further added to the 10 commandments after he went and he destroyed them, and so on and so forth. Let's get some more clarity from a book that is not the King James Version of the Bible, or was not included in the text, which is called the Gospel of Peace. And this reading that I'm about to do really goes into detail about the transgressions of Moses. I'm going to be reading from the Gospel of Peace. It says here, and the Messiah answered, it was said to them in old times, all beasts that move upon the earth, and the fish of the sea, and all the fowl of the air are given into thy power. I tell you truly, of all creatures living upon the earth, God, the eternal Almighty One, created only man after his image. Wherefore, beasts are for man, and not man for beasts. You do not therefore transgress the law if you kill the wild beasts to save your brother's life. Okay? So if a lion is attacking somebody, a dog attacking somebody, and you defend them, says you're not in error because your life is more valuable than the life of that animal. Right? It says, for I tell you truly, man is more than the beast, but he who kills the beast without a cause, though the beast attack him not, through lust for slaughter, or for its flesh, or for its hide, or yet for its tusk. Evil is the deed which he does, for he is turned into a wild beast himself. Therefore is his end as the end of the wild beast. So these people who like to go game hunting, it says even if they're killing for food, to eat it, for flesh and all this type of stuff, it says you're nothing but a wild beast yourself. Okay? Next part I'm going to read, it says, then another said, Moses, the greatest in Israel, suffered our forefathers to eat the flesh of clean beasts, and forbid only the flesh of unclean beasts. Why therefore do you forbid us the flesh of all beasts? Which law comes from God, the eternal Almighty One? That of Moses or your law? So they're asking him, listen, which one of these laws should we be following? The ones that came from Moses, they say of God, but we know that according to the Creator, his law said, thou shalt not kill. That's what was written on the tablets, right? So they say, Moses or your law? So let's see what the Messiah says. It says, and the Messiah answered, God gave Moses 10 commandments to your forefathers. These commandments are hard, said your forefathers, and they could not keep them. When Moses saw this, he had compassion on his people and would not that they perish. And then he gave them 10 times 10 commandments. Okay? So Moses gave them another 10 times 10. So they end up with like 100 commandments based off of Moses. Then it says, for he whose feet are strong as the mountain of Zion need no crutches, but he whose limbs do shake get further having crutches. So all these additional stuff were crutches. We already talked about putting away the wife and things of that nature, right? From the beginning it was not so. Then it says, than without them, and Moses said to the Lord, my heart is filled with sorrow, for my people will be lost. For they are without knowledge, and are not able to understand thy commandments. They are as little children who cannot yet understand thy father's words. Suffer, Lord, that I gave them other laws, that they may not perish. If they may not be with thee, Lord, let them not be against thee, that they may sustain themselves. And when the time has come, and they are ripe for the words, reveal to them thy laws. For that did Moses break the 2 tablets of stone. He says for that reason, Moses break the 2 tablets of stone. When you go into the King James, it doesn't give you all this detail. Now you could look at it side by side and see that it lines up, it adds up. Okay? Then it says, Moses break the 2 tablets of stone, whereon were written the 10 commandments. And he gave them 10 times 10 in their stead. So he replaced it with more, right? Reiterated. And of those 10 times 10, the scribes and Pharisees have made 100 times 10 commandments. Now they done added even more to what Moses had said. And they have laid unbearable burdens on your shoulders, that they themselves do not carry. For the more nigh are the commandments to God, the eternal Almighty One, the less do we need. And the farther they are from the eternal Almighty One, then the more do we need. Wherefore are the laws of the Pharisees and the scribes innumerable. And all were astonished at his wisdom, and asked him, Continue, Master, and teach us all the laws which we can receive. And the Messiah continued, The eternal Almighty One commanded your forefathers, Thou shalt not kill. But their heart was hardened, and they killed. Then Moses desired that at the very least, they should not kill men. And he suffered them to kill beasts. And then the heart of your forefathers was hardened yet the more, and they killed men and beasts likewise. But I do say to you, kill neither men nor beasts, nor yet the food which goes into your mouth. For if you eat living food, the same will quicken you. But if you kill your food, the dead food will kill you also. For life comes only from life, and from death comes always death. For everything which kills your food kills your body also, and everything which kills your body kills your soul also. And your bodies become what your foods are, even as your spirit likewise becomes what your thoughts are. Okay, so that's all I'll read from that passage. Again, that book is called The Gospel of Peace, and it really highlights a lot of questions or things that have not been clarified in the minds of individuals from the King James Version of the Bible or any older version. Okay, so there we have it. You know, it's very clear. The information is there. You know, these are not my words. I'm giving it to you directly as it says from the scripts. It tells you that they're supposed to be doing sacrifices. The Levitical priests, the sons of Aaron, are the ones that's supposed to be doing these sacrifices. The people have to sanctify themselves. The people have to travel to Jerusalem in order to keep this Passover. Now we know, based on what we read and the understanding that we have received, that this was never the Creator's intention to be shedding blood, to have people meddling and mixing in blood. It was the hardness of the hearts of man, like it is even today. So with that said, at this point, if you don't see it, then maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's not time for you to see. But let us hear the conclusion of the entire matter. Fear the Most High and keep His commandments. Selah.